So welcome back guys to We Talk Boxing, and this video is all about Zhilei Zhang and his perfect display over the weekend against no other than Joyce. Now this was the second time that he's fought Joyce this year, and second time he's technically knocked him out. First fight TKO, second fight clear as day knockout. Yeah. Now what does this do for Zhilei Zhang's rankings in the governing bodies? Now, he is obviously the WBO interim heavyweight champion, and that's why he fought Joyce the first time. Obviously, he won the fight, and obviously this second time was obviously the rematch. Now, because he's ranked, obviously he's got that interim title. He can't be ranked in any of the other governing bodies. So, in the Ring magazine ratings, according to Boxing.live, this was updated on the 20th of September, so this was 3 days before the pair were meant to fight. Now, at the time, it had Zhilei Zhang ranked number 4th in the Ring magazine ratings. Now, ahead of him were the likes of, in number 1, Fury, number 2, Deontay Wilder, and number 3, Anthony Joshua. Now, it had Usyk down as the Ring magazine, obviously, champion. He currently has the Ring belt, and obviously pretty much is the main man in the division. So the Boxing Live, obviously the Ring ratings have Zhilei down as number 4. Now, if you had to realistically, you know what I mean, order these guys 1 to 5, then clear as day, the top 2 is quite obvious to see. Now, in my opinion, this is just my subjective opinion, I would probably say that Usyk would be the main man in the heavyweight division at the minute. He has 3 of the 4 main belts, and he has also the Ring magazine belt as well. And he did this by, you know what I mean, conquering the cruiserweight division, capturing all the belts before moving up to heavyweight. He had a couple of little, you know what I mean, get me going sort of fights in the heavyweight division before obviously taking on Anthony Joshua, defeating him twice, and then most recently Daniel Dubois. So he has kind of done it the long way and the hard way. So in my eyes, he's pretty much, you know what I mean, the main man in the division, and the one that most of these guys should be pretty much trying to dethrone. Second on my list would be Tyson Fury, the WBC title, heavyweight title holder. And by right, he should be number 2 in my eyes. He's only got one of the 4 main belts. He hasn't got the Ring belt to his name no more. And he hasn't been as active as what other heavyweights have been. And the level of opposition that he's been kind of facing, in my eyes, isn't what I would like the WBC heavyweight champion or the so-called best heavyweight out there at the minute to be kind of taking on. Now, he obviously took on Deontay Wilder 3 times, and Deontay Wilder, according to the Ring magazine, is ranked number 2. But he took on Wilder 3 times. First fight was a draw, and the second fight, third fight, he obviously beat him twice. And technically, he should have won all 3 fights. Even the first one, he should have won, but it was scored a draw. And then after that, he fought the likes of Dillian Whyte, which was a brilliant knockout at the time. And Dillian Whyte was, you know what I mean, was a good name to have on the record. And then he fought obviously Chisora as well, which was a meaningless fight in my eyes. Shouldn't really have happened, but it happened. So yeah, he's in my eyes clear as day number 2. Now at this point, we go to the 3rd spot, and I would say in my top 5, I would probably put Anthony Joshua ahead at this stage. And the reason being is that, yes, he lost his titles to Alexander Usyk, but I can't get my words out. Alexander Usyk was one of them guys that people were kind of ducking and didn't really want to kind of fight. And obviously AJ stepped up, fought him, and it is what it is. He lost twice to Usyk, but after that, he has come back with a couple of performances. Now, his last couple performances weren't brilliant. Do you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, he's pretty much gone in there and got the job done. And no one cares whether or not it was a masterclass performance or It was a close call. At the end of the day, the most important thing is that you get the W. And after those two Alexander Usyk defeats, he's gone in there twice against Franklin and Hellenius, and he's got the W. The Franklin one was a tricky one because it was a harder performance and a harder fight for AJ than what he actually thought it would have been. But then the Hellenius one looks even better now because obviously he was recently popped for Steads. So on that point of view, I would probably have AJ down as my third best heavyweight, and he's been active, and this is what we like to see. And in the last 3 years, you know what I mean, he's had 5 fights in the last 3 years, which is quite a bit. It's not pure active, but he's had quite a lot of fights, and that's more than what you could say Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury hasn't been active at all, which is quite disappointing because he is the main man in the division. So realistically, the main man in the division, you want him to be fighting quite regular, and he's only had, 4 fights in the last 3 years. But realistically, he's fought Deontay Wilder twice within that time, and a Derek Chisora and a Dillian White. Where Chisora, could you really class that as a fight? It was a fight, but could you really class it? You know what I mean? It's one of them. Now, the 4th spot on my list, I would put Zhang. And the reason why I'm putting Zhang ahead of Deontay Wilder on my list, again, it's a subjective list. You guys can let me know your thoughts in your top 5. The reason why I'm putting Zhang there is because Zhang's been active. Now, Zhang's had quite a few fights in the latter 3 years, and he's challenged and he's taken on some big opponents, some good names as well, people that other fighters have kind of been ducking. And in the last 3 years, he's been so active. It's unbelievable how active he's been. He's had like nearly 7 fights in the last 3 years, which is a lot. He obviously had that close call, which was a draw against Jerry Forrest. Some would say that he pretty much lost that fight, but obviously it was scored a draw. And then he took on a couple of little ranked contenders, Craig Lewis, Scott Alexander, before challenging the most feared man and avoided man in the division at the time, which was Hrgovic. And in that Hrgovic fight, he won that clear as day, but he just didn't get the decision. He even knocked him down and hurt him a few times as well. Not a few times, he knocked him down. But it's one of them at the end of the day. Hrgovic got the decision and went on, and he has his mandatory challenger position. And then he fought, again, another boogeyman in the division. You know what I mean? At the time, most people were saying that Joyce was the next come in. He was going to potentially dethrone Usyk and beat Tyson, and he would knock out AJ, etc., etc. And he fought Joyce twice and dismantled him twice. Yeah, dismantled him twice. Not defeated him. He dismantled him twice. So at the end of the day, if you could do that to 2 guys in the boxing division that most people are fearing and avoiding, then your estimation in my ratings and is quite high. So I would put him down as 4th. And then 5th on my list, the top 5, I would then have a Deontay Wilder. Now, from my point of view, Deontay's quite lucky to be 5th on this list because he hasn't been active. He just hasn't been active. He's had 3 fights in the last 3 years, and he hasn't fought since, I think it was October 2022, which, if I remember rightly, I think it was against, was it Ortiz or Hellenius? I can't remember, but it was a quick knockout anyway, and that's how quick. If I can't really remember it, it says it all there, but it was either against Ortiz or Hellenius. Let me just hold on. Let me try and get my phone out. Let me have a look. Just bear with me. Sorry, it was against Hellenius. First round knockout, as I said, I couldn't really remember it, so it didn't really go that long. But yeah, he hasn't been active, so I'll put him down as 5th on my list. Obviously, he's the biggest punching heavyweight today, so he has to have some credit, in the bank. Now, he needs to be more active, in my eyes, to stay on, in the rankings, and to stay quite high up in the rankings, and to try and challenge for some of the better fighters. Otherwise, you might as well just retire. If you're not going to be getting out there and fighting some decent opposition, then retire. He had this potential fight with Andy Ruiz, which was at the time a mandatory challenger for a WBC, and those two just couldn't get that fight going. So why? And he hasn't fought anyone else. He could have maybe challenged a few of the other heavyweights in the division. And there's plenty out there who Deontay could have enticed into the ring and get some more highlight reel knockouts on his record. He could have offered a Parker. He could have offered, let's say, an Anderson or a Frank Sanchez. People like that he could have potentially offered. Even Hergovich. But he didn't. But anyway, guys, I want to keep this quite short, even though it's not short. It's over 10 minutes now. This is my top 5 in the heavyweight division, and I would put Zhang 4th on the list. Those who are ahead of him, as I said earlier, would be Usyk, Fury, AJ, and then Zhang, and then Wilder in 5th. Let me know your top 5 in the heavyweight division. Do you agree with me? Would you put these guys in that order, or would you kind of mix it around a little bit? And if so, justify your reasons why. Let me know your thoughts. As always, guys, please subscribe. Bless.